5 years after the Liberation Fleet's defeat, President Wanho stood in the observation deck of humanity's newest orbital station above Kepler Prime, formerly the Council's primary military base. Through the transparent walls, he could see human ships moving between the planets of what had once been the Council's most heavily defended system. The transformation had been remarkable. Where alien military installations once maintained peaceful order, human industrial complexes now converted raw materials into the tools of expansion. The garden world below, once home to millions of Council civilians, had been converted into a training facility where human children learned to survive in the hostile environments their species would encounter as they spread across the galaxy. Mr. President, Admiral Che-Young approached with her daily briefing tablet. The Frontier Defense Fleet reports no hostile contact along our expansion zones. The nearest Council forces are maintaining a distance of at least 50 light-years from human territory. President Wanho nodded, still studying the peaceful scene outside. It was hard to believe that this system had been a battlefield just a few years ago. The war that aliens now call the Deathworlder crisis had lasted only 6 months, but it had completely reshaped galactic civilization. "What about the Reformed Council?" he asked. "Any change in their diplomatic position?" "Ambassador, Jae-Hwan reports that they're still adapting to the concept of military deterrence," Che-Young replied. "Most Council species are having difficulty understanding why we maintain such large military forces during peacetime." The president smiled at that. Even after everything they had experienced, the aliens still thought like prey species. They couldn't grasp that predators stayed strong precisely to avoid having to fight. The war had ended not with a peace treaty, but with a simple understanding. Humanity would expand into whatever territory they chose, and the Council would not interfere. In exchange, humans would not attack established alien populations that kept their distance from human settlements. It was a predator's peace, enforced by the universal recognition that one side could destroy the other whenever they chose. The Council had accepted it because they had no alternative. Humanity had accepted it because conquest was never their goal. They simply wanted room to grow. "Sir," Admiral Che-Young continued, "we've received another request from the Reformed Council for military assistance. The Andromedans are expanding into their territory from outside the galaxy." President Wanho turned away from the window. This was the 4th such request in 2 years. The galaxy was full of threats that the peaceful Council species couldn't handle alone. Apparently, humanity's reputation as Deathworlders had spread beyond the local galactic region. "What do our intelligence reports say about these Andromedans? They appear to be a military civilization similar to ourselves, but from a different galactic environment. Their expansion methods are causing significant civilian casualties among Council populations." The president considered the situation. Humanity's relationship with the galaxy had become more complex than anyone had expected. The aliens feared human military power, but they also depended on it. When real threats appeared, the Council turned to the only species they knew could fight and win. "Schedule a meeting with Ambassador Jae-Hwan," he decided. "We'll consider the request, but the Council needs to understand that human military assistance comes with conditions." 3 days later, Ambassador Jae-Hwan materialized on the Council's new capital world via quantum transport. The meeting location was symbolic. Instead of the grand chambers where the old Council had made decisions for the entire galaxy, the Reformed Council met in a simple conference room that could be quickly evacuated if necessary. The alien representatives looked older, more tired than their predecessors. The war with humanity had taught them that the galaxy was a more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. Former Council Prime Velash, now serving as a junior representative from his war-damaged homeworld, spoke for the group. "Ambassador Jae-Hwan, we are grateful that humanity is considering our request for assistance." Jae-Hwan studied the assembled aliens. These were the survivors of the species that had tried to cage humanity 5 years ago. The experience had changed them fundamentally. They no longer spoke with the confident authority of galactic rulers. Instead, they asked for help with the humility of species that had learned their limitations. "The human government is prepared to provide military support against the Andromedan expansion," he announced. "However, we have conditions that must be accepted. Velosh nodded nervously. What are your requirements? First, human forces will operate under human command structure. We will not accept council oversight or restrictions on our tactical methods. The Boer aliens exchanged glances. They had learned during the war that human military tactics violated every assumption about civilized combat. But they also knew those tactics were effective. Second, human colonies in the intervention zone will be permanent. Any territory we secure during military operations becomes part of human space. This caused more concern among the council representatives. They were essentially offering to pay humanity and territory for military protection. Third, species that accept human military assistance will acknowledge human expansion rights throughout their regions. You will not interfere with human settlement activities. Velosh realized what Jaehuan was describing. The Reformed Council would become a collection of client states under human military protection. It was the formalization of what had already become reality. We accept your conditions, he said quietly. Ambassador Jaehuan activated his communication device to transmit the agreement back to Earth. Within hours, Admiral Cheung's frontier defense fleet was moving toward the Andromedan contact zone. The first engagement with the new alien threat came 2 weeks later. The Andromedans had expected to face the same kind of peaceful, negotiation-focused species they had been conquering throughout their expansion. Instead, they encountered human destroyer squadrons that fought with the same ruthless efficiency that had broken the Council's military power. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the Andromedan expansion fleet was completely destroyed, and human forces were establishing forward bases on worlds that had been alien territory that morning. News of the victory spread throughout the galaxy within days. The message was clear. Humanity was not just the dominant military power in this region of space. They were the defenders of galactic civilization against any threat from outside. President Wanho read the battle reports from his office on Earth, in the same underground complex where the war had been planned years earlier. The planet's surface was still as dangerous as ever. Storms, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and aggressive wildlife continued to challenge human survival every day. But humanity had learned to love their death world. It had made them strong enough to protect not just themselves, but an entire galaxy, full of peaceful species that couldn't protect themselves. Sir, his aide reported, we're receiving another distress signal from beyond the galactic rim. Long-range sensors suggest it's coming from a species fleeing some kind of threat. President Wanho looked up from his reports. Analysis? Unknown at this time, but the signal strength suggests whatever they're running from is significantly more dangerous than anything we've encountered before. The president walked to his window overlooking the underground city. Children played in parks built inside mountain caves. Scientists worked on projects that would help humanity colonize even more dangerous worlds. Soldiers trained for battles, against threats that hadn't been discovered yet. Earth had spent millions of years preparing humanity for challenges they couldn't imagine. Now it appeared the galaxy was about to present them with another test. Send a response to the distress signal, he decided. Tell them that the Deathworlders of Earth are prepared to investigate their situation. He paused, then added with a slight smile, and make sure they understand that we're not sending diplomats. In the depths of space, human sensor networks detected the approaching threat. Something vast and hostile was moving toward the galaxy from the dark between the stars. The Council species would have tried to negotiate with it or hide from it or hope it would go away. But humanity had learned a different lesson from their violent homeworld. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to seek out danger and destroy it before it can threaten your home. The galaxy was about to learn once again why evolution had created apex predators and why the children of death worlds made the best guardians of civilization. The Council's counterattack came exactly as Admiral Juan had predicted. 3 weeks after Operation Breakout, General Thex assembled the largest military force in Council history. Over 200 ships from 15 different species, all converging on the human colony at New Sol in the Proxima sector. The aliens thought they had learned from their earlier defeats. This time they approached with overwhelming numbers. This time, They would avoid human ambush tactics by staying together in a massive formation. This time, they would show these Deathworlders that civilized species could fight when necessary. Fleet. Admiral Taehyung watched the alien armada approach from his command ship, hidden in the Proxima System's asteroid belt. His tactical display showed every enemy vessel, their formations, their weapon signatures. Human intelligence had been tracking the Council buildup for days. 237 ships, reported his intelligence officer, Captain Jisoo. Every major Council species is represented. They're calling it the Liberation Fleet. Taehyung almost felt sorry for them. The aliens still didn't understand what they were fighting. Have they made any attempt to contact our colonists? Yes, sir. They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. They say human civilians will be safely relocated if military forces withdraw immediately. The Admiral studied the alien formation through his ship's sensors. Even now, facing the largest human colony in the region, the Council fleet was still thinking like peacekeepers rather than warriors. They had positioned their ships to minimize collateral damage to civilian areas. They were broadcasting warnings to give non-combatants time to evacuate. They were following rules of engagement designed for police actions, not military conquest. What about our civilian response? Taehyung asked. Captain Jisoo smiled grimly. The colonists are requesting permission to engage enemy forces with mining equipment and industrial tools. Dr. Kyungmin's volunteers have already deployed biological countermeasures throughout the system. That was the Council's second misunderstanding. They assumed that human military forces and civilian populations were separate groups with different capabilities and motivations. On Earth, every civilian was a potential soldier. Every colonist was trained in combat operations. Every mining station could become a weapon platform within hours. Dr. Kyungmin had spent years studying alien biology, but not for peaceful research purposes. She knew exactly how Council species responded to stress, fear, and chemical agents that humans considered harmless. Admiral, she reported from the planet's surface, I've analyzed the psychological profiles of the approaching alien crews. Their species have extreme anxiety responses to prolonged conflict. Most of them will enter catatonic states if exposed to human warfare tactics for more than a few hours. She activated her laboratory's main display, showing biological samples from a dozen different alien species. I've also confirmed that their immune systems can't handle Earth-based bacteria. A simple respiratory infection that humans recover from in a few days will incapacitate most Council species for weeks. Taehyung nodded. Humanity had discovered these biological advantages during the first diplomatic meetings, but they had kept the information secret. The aliens thought the human advantage was technological. They didn't realize that biology itself was on humanity's side. Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Throughout the Proxima System, human civilian populations began implementing defense protocols that would have horrified any civilized species. Farmers released modified bacteria into the local ecosystem. Miners detonated shaped charges that turned asteroids into kinetic weapons. Factory workers converted industrial equipment into mass destruction devices. The Liberation Fleet entered the system expecting to face military resistance. Instead, they encountered something their cultures had never imagined, an entire civilization that treated warfare as a normal part of daily life. Sir, the Council Fleet's medical officer reported to General Thex, we're detecting biological agents throughout this system. Unknown bacteria, chemical compounds, radiation sources. Our environmental systems are struggling to maintain safe atmosphere. Thex studied the readings with growing concern. Are the humans using banned biological weapons? No, sir. These appear to be naturally occurring Earth organisms, but our species have no immunity to them. If any of these agents reach our ships, the General understood. Council species had evolved on worlds with stable, peaceful environments. Their immune systems had never needed to fight the kind of aggressive pathogens that were common on death worlds like Earth. What humans considered normal background biology would be deadly to aliens. The first human attack came not from warships, but from modified cargo vessels that looked like civilian freighters. The Council fleet held its fire, following engagement rules that prohibited targeting non-combatant ships. The freighters exploded when they reached the center of the alien formation, but they weren't carrying conventional explosives. They were loaded with Earth bacteria, human industrial chemicals, and radioactive materials from mining operations. The biological weapons spread through the enemy fleet like a plague. Within hours, Council ships were reporting crew casualties from respiratory infections, skin conditions, and neurological disorders. Alien medical facilities had no treatment for Earth-based pathogens. Entire ship crews were becoming too sick to fight. Captain Jisoo monitored enemy communications from her intelligence post. "Sir, the aliens are requesting medical assistance from their home worlds. They're treating this as a disease outbreak rather than a military attack." "Because that's what it is," Admiral Taehyung replied. "We're not using artificial biological weapons. We're just exposing them to the normal environment that humans live in every day." The Council's second shock came when they tried to land ground forces on New Sol. The planet's human colonists didn't evacuate to underground shelters like refugees. Instead, they spread out across the surface and began asymmetric warfare operations that the aliens couldn't understand. Refugee leader Nala commanded one of the few Council species with any military experience, but even her people had never faced an enemy like this. "They're not fighting like soldiers," she reported to General Thex. "They're fighting like the native predators on their homeworld." Human colonists used every advantage their Deathworld evolution had given them. They could survive in environments that killed alien soldiers within minutes. They could eat local flora and fauna that was toxic to Council species. They could operate in radiation zones, chemical contamination, and extreme weather that grounded alien military equipment. Worse, the humans were using the planet itself as a weapon. They redirected rivers to flood alien landing zones. They triggered volcanic activity to create impassable terrain. They released modified Earth organisms that attacked alien equipment and supplies. "Sir," Nala continued, "my troops are reporting hallucinations, panic attacks, and complete psychological breakdowns. The humans are using sound weapons, chemical agents, and psychological warfare tactics that our people can't handle." What she didn't understand was that humans weren't using special weapons. They were simply behaving naturally, and their natural behavior triggered terror responses in species that had never faced real predators. Dr. Kyungmin watched the alien ground forces retreat from her observation post. "Admiral, the enemy is withdrawing from all surface positions. Their casualty rate from environmental factors alone is over 60%. After 5 days of fighting, General Thex made the decision that would end the Council's military resistance. All ships, withdraw to safe distance. We cannot continue operations in this environment." The Liberation Fleet limped away from Proxima, leaving behind over 40 ships destroyed or abandoned. Human casualties totaled less than 300, most from industrial accidents rather than enemy action. Admiral Taehyung addressed his staff after the alien retreat. "Gentlemen, the Council has just learned what Deathworld means. They sent their largest military force to stop human expansion. Instead, they discovered that we're not just adapted to survive on dangerous worlds. We're adapted to make any world dangerous for our enemies." Captain Jisoo studied the intelligence reports from the battle. "Sir, alien morale appears to be completely broken. Their military commanders are reporting that human warfare tactics violate every assumption about civilized combat." "Because we're not civilized," Taehyung replied. "We're apex predators from a world that spent millions of years trying to kill us. They wanted to fight a war using their rules, in their preferred environment, with their understanding of acceptable tactics." He looked out at the stars, knowing that human expansion would continue unopposed. "Instead, they learned that when you fight Deathworlders, you fight on our terms. And our terms are simple. We do whatever it takes to win, using every advantage our evolution gave us." The message would spread throughout Council space within days. Humanity wasn't just a military threat. They were a fundamental challenge to everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare, survival, and the basic nature of intelligent species. The Council would never again mistake human expansion for a cry for help. Admiral Huan's response reached the Council chambers exactly 24 hours before Operation Breakout began. The message was short, direct, and delivered with the confidence of a predator that had been planning this moment for decades. To the Galactic Council, it read, Humans do not accept ultimatums from species who mistake our expansion for their permission. We will continue colonizing worlds as we see fit. Any attempt to forcibly remove human settlements will be met with military response. You have been warned. Council Prime Valash read the message 3 times, each reading making him more angry. They dare to threaten the entire Galactic Council? These primitives from one backward system? General Thex was already planning military deployment. We have battle fleets stationed throughout the region. If we coordinate strikes on their major colonies simultaneously, we can force them to negotiate. What neither alien leader understood was that human intelligence had been monitoring their military communications for years. Every council battle plan was known within hours of being created. Every ship movement was tracked by hidden sensors. Every weakness had been identified and cataloged. Operation Breakout began at 0300 Galactic Standard Time with attacks on 17 council systems simultaneously. But these weren't the honorable ship-to-ship battles that alien military doctrine expected. The humans had studied predator behavior from their death world, and they applied those lessons to space warfare. Colonel Seok Jin led the assault on the Council's primary communications relay at Kepler Station. Instead of approaching with a fleet of warships, he used a technique that no civilized species had ever considered. His Marines traveled in modified asteroids, drifting through space like natural debris until they were close enough to strike. "Boarding pods away," he ordered as his makeshift asteroid broke apart to reveal the military transport hidden inside. Hundreds of small craft scattered toward the alien station like a swarm of insects. The Council defenders tried to target the pods with their defensive systems, but humans had learned how to fight in 3 dimensions from aerial predators on Earth. The pods didn't fly in formation or follow predictable attack patterns. They moved like hunting birds, unpredictable and fast, designed to overwhelm prey through sheer numbers. Within minutes, human Marines were cutting through the station's hull with tools that the aliens had never seen before. Equipment designed for mining operations on lava worlds could slice through any known armor like it was paper. Major Heejin commanded the starfighter attack on the Council fleet at Epsilon Sector. Her pilots flew ships that looked more like mechanical wasps than traditional spacecraft. Small, fast, and armed with weapons that could punch through heavy armor despite their size. The Council fleet tried to engage the fighters using standard military tactics. Large ships with powerful shields firing energy weapons designed to disable enemy vessels rather than destroy them. They expected an honorable battle between professional military forces. Instead, they faced something their species had never encountered: organized kamikaze attacks by pilots who viewed their own death as an acceptable cost of victory. "Target their command ships first," Heejin ordered as her fighters dove toward the alien fleet. "Maximum damage, minimum survival time." Her pilots didn't try to survive the battle. They crashed their explosive-laden fighters directly into alien bridges, engine rooms, and weapon systems. Each human death eliminated an entire enemy warship from the battle. The aliens were horrified. In their culture, military conflict was supposed to minimize casualties on both sides. The idea of deliberately sacrificing lives to achieve victory was so alien to them that their tactical computers couldn't process the human attack patterns. Captain Sung Hoon coordinated the destroyer squadron attack on the Council's main supply depot at Vega Prime. His ships used a strategy borrowed from pack hunters on Earth: separate the prey from the herd, then attack the most vulnerable targets first. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the alien fleet is trying to form a defensive formation around their cargo ships." Sung Hoon smiled coldly. "Then we attack from underneath. Earth predators always attack from the blind spot." His destroyers dove below the plane of the solar system, approaching the alien fleet from an angle that their sensors couldn't effectively monitor. When they opened fire, it wasn't with weapons designed for space combat. It was with mining equipment adapted from asteroid operations, tools designed to crack apart solid rock. The alien cargo ships exploded like soap bubbles, their civilian-grade hulls unable to withstand weapons meant for demolishing mountains. Within an hour, the Council had lost 6 months' worth of military supplies. But the most devastating human tactic was implemented by Engineer Sumin, who had spent years studying alien technology captured by human intelligence operations. She knew exactly how Council systems worked, and more importantly, how to turn them against their users. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Juan from her position aboard the captured alien station, "their defensive systems are designed to recognize friendly ships automatically, but their identification codes are embarrassingly simple." She typed commands into the alien computer system with practiced efficiency. "I can reprogram their defense networks to identify Council ships as hostile targets. Their own weapons will attack their own fleet." Within hours of the attack's beginning, the Council's military command structure was in chaos. Their communication networks were down, their supply lines were cut, their defensive systems were attacking their own ships, and everywhere they looked, human forces were using tactics that violated every assumption about civilized warfare. General Thex tried to coordinate a counterattack from his command ship, but human intelligence had been monitoring his communications for so long that they knew his plans before his own fleet commanders did. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from 7 different battle groups. They say human forces are using chemical weapons, biological agents, and mass destruction devices." Thex studied the battle reports with growing horror. The humans weren't using banned weapons. They were using industrial equipment from their Deathworld colonies as military tools, mining acids that could eat through spaceship hulls, bacterial cultures that broke down organic materials, radiation sources that overloaded alien electronic systems. Every tool that humanity had developed to survive on impossible worlds was now being used as a weapon against species that had never faced such extreme conditions. "Order all forces to fall back to the core systems," Thex decided. "We need time to develop new tactics." But falling back was exactly what the humans had expected. Commander Youngjin's special forces had been positioned for weeks along the Council's retreat routes. As alien ships fled from the battle zones, they ran directly into human ambushes. "They're running like prey animals," Youngjin observed as he watched Council ships scatter in panic. "They have no experience fighting a species that actually wants to win." His stealth ships emerged from asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres, places where alien sensors couldn't detect them. Instead of engaging in ship-to-ship combat, they used the space equivalent of guerrilla warfare: hit-and-run attacks, sabotage, operations, psychological warfare designed to break enemy morale. After 72 hours of Operation Breakout, the situation was clear to everyone in the galaxy. The Council had lost 30% of its military capability. Human forces had suffered minimal casualties while capturing strategic positions throughout the region, and most importantly, alien morale was completely broken. Council species had never fought an enemy that treated war as a natural activity rather than a regrettable necessity. They couldn't understand human tactics because those tactics were based on millions of years of evolution on a world where everything tried to kill them every day. Admiral Juan reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. "Phase 1 is complete. The Council's military forces are neutralized. Phase 2? Captain Doyen consulted his strategic planning tablets. "Consolidation and expansion, sir. We hold the territory we've taken and continue expanding into the power vacuum. And if they try to negotiate? Then we negotiate from a position of strength," Doyen replied. "But something tells me they're going to try one more military solution before they admit defeat." The Admiral nodded. The Council would probably attempt a desperate counterattack using their remaining forces. It would be their last mistake. Humanity had spent 50,000 years learning how to survive on a planet that tried to kill them every day. Now the galaxy was about to learn what that education had produced. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 6 hours. Ambassador Kren stood before the assembled representatives, his blue skin pale with exhaustion and fear. Around the great circular chamber, delegates from 47 worlds listened in growing horror as he described his encounter with humanity. "They are not refugees," Kren repeated for the 3rd time. "They are an expanding military civilization. Their entire star system has been converted into a fortress. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid has been weaponized." Council Prime Velosh struggled to understand. but their distress message clearly stated they needed help escaping their dangerous world. "That was our mistake," Kren replied. "We translated their message wrong. They weren't asking for rescue, they were warning us. They were telling us that a predator species from a death world was expanding into the galaxy." General Thex studied the tactical data on his personal screen. The sensor readings from the Sol system showed industrial capacity that rivaled the entire Council fleet. "How many ships do they have?" "We detected over 60 warships in their home system alone," Kren answered. "But their stealth technology is superior to ours. There could be hundreds more that we never saw." Representative Nix from the agricultural world spoke up. "Surely we can negotiate with them. Every species can be reasoned with." Ambassador Kren remembered Minji's predatory smile. "I don't think these humans negotiate the way we do. Their representative spoke like a military commander, not a diplomat. She made it clear they intend to expand into Council space with or without our permission." The chamber erupted in worried conversations. Some delegates demanded military action. Others insisted on more diplomatic contact. A few suggested retreating to the galactic core and hoping the humans would leave them alone. General Thex called for order. "The immediate question is what to do about their expansion. Our long-range sensors show human colonies on 17 worlds that we consider Council territory." "Uninhabitable worlds," pointed out Science Advisor Kell. "Lava planets, radiation, zones, ice worlds. Places where no civilized species would want to live." "That's exactly the problem," Kren said. "These humans don't avoid dangerous environments. They seek them out. They thrive in conditions that would kill us. Every world we consider uninhabitable is a potential human colony." Council Prime Valash made a decision. "We need more information. General Thex, send reconnaissance missions to monitor human activities, but keep our ships at a safe distance." What none of the Council members knew was that human stealth ships had been monitoring their meeting. Hidden sensors planted by Commander Youngjin's Special Operations Team transmitted every word back to Earth. In the underground command center, General Hansel reviewed the intercepted Council discussions with his senior staff. The aliens were finally beginning to understand the situation, but they were still thinking like prey animals. "They're planning reconnaissance missions," reported Dr. Yunji, the technology specialist. "Light scouting forces to observe our colonies." "Captain," Doyen looked up from his tactical display. "Should we allow them to gather intelligence on our operations?" General Hansel considered the options. "Let them look, but make sure they see what we want them to see. Show them our military capabilities. Let them understand what they're dealing with." Commander Youngjin activated a holographic map showing Council space. Red markers indicated human observation posts that the aliens didn't know existed. "Sir, we have assets monitoring 23 Council worlds. Their security is practically non-existent. We could neutralize their entire military command structure in a coordinated strike." "Not yet," Hansel decided. "First, let's see if they're smart enough to avoid a fight they can't win." 3 days later, the Council's reconnaissance fleet arrived. At the human colony on Vulcan 7, a lava world in the disputed border region, what they found challenged everything they thought they knew about planetary colonization. The human settlement wasn't built on the surface, where constant volcanic activity would have destroyed any normal structures. Instead, the humans had constructed their city inside the active volcano itself. They were using the planet's geological violence to power their industrial operations. "Impossible," whispered the fleet commander as he studied the sensor readings. "How do they survive in that environment?" His science officer was equally amazed. "Sir, they're not just surviving, they're thriving. The colony population is over 50,000. They're mining materials that we've never seen before, materials that only exist under those extreme conditions." Similar reports came from human colonies throughout the region. On the ice world Frostbite, humans had built cities under kilometers of frozen methane. On the radiation planet Burnout, they operated mining operations in zones that would kill Council species within minutes. But the most disturbing discovery was what the humans were building with the materials from these death worlds. New alloys that could survive any environment, energy sources more powerful than anything the Council possessed, weapons that defied conventional physics. Dr. Yoonji smiled as she reviewed the alien reconnaissance reports. The humans had deliberately revealed just enough technology to terrify the Council without showing their true capabilities. They've seen our basic colonial operations, she told General Hansel, but they have no idea about our advanced military projects. The weapons we're developing from Deathworld materials would make their shields completely useless. The General studied intelligence reports from across Council space. Human agents had been gathering information for decades, preparing for this moment. What about their military response capabilities? Pathetic, Dr. Yoonji replied bluntly. Their largest warships are smaller than our destroyers. Their weapons are designed for disabling enemy systems, not destroying them. They've never fought a species that shoots to kill. Commander Youngjin added his assessment. Sir, their military doctrine is based on the assumption that all conflicts can be resolved through negotiation. They have no concept of total war. If fighting starts, they'll try to minimize casualties and preserve infrastructure. While we'll be trying to win as quickly and decisively as possible, General Hansel concluded. He activated the main strategic display. The Council is about to make a choice. They can accept human expansion and learn to coexist with a predator species, or they can try to stop us. The answer came within hours. Council Prime Velash's message was broadcast on all frequencies, directed at human colonies throughout the disputed region. To the human settlements in Council territory, the message began. You are ordered to cease all unauthorized colonial activities immediately. You have 30 standard days to evacuate your illegal settlements and return to your home system. Any human presence outside the Sol system after this deadline will be considered an act of war against the Galactic Council. In the Earth Command Center, Admiral Huan read the ultimatum with satisfaction rather than concern. They think they can give us orders like we're some primitive species they just discovered. Sir? Captain Doyen asked. What are your orders? Admiral. Huan looked around the room at his senior staff. These men and women had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. Humanity had been isolated in one star system while watching alien civilizations control the galaxy. They had studied every Council species, learned their weaknesses, developed strategies to exploit their peaceful nature. Send a response, he decided. Tell the Council that humans don't take orders from alien governments. Tell them our expansion will continue as planned. And tell them that any attempt to force human withdrawal will result in consequences they are not prepared for. He paused, then added, also, activate Operation Breakout. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when someone tries to cage a predator. Throughout human space, military commanders received their orders. Ships that had been hidden for years began moving toward their assigned targets. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for interstellar warfare checked their equipment one final time. The Council had demanded that humans stay in their cage. Instead, they were about to learn why Earth's children were called Deathworlders. The war would begin in 72 hours, but it would be over before the Council realized they were already fighting for their survival. Ambassador Kren stared at the tactical display showing dozens of human warships surrounding his small diplomatic fleet. The Council had sent 5 ships to rescue desperate refugees. Instead, they had stumbled into the territory of an expanding military civilization. Ambassador, his communication officer called out, the humans are requesting a face-to-face meeting. They want to send a representative to our ship. Kren felt his heart's beating faster. His people were natural diplomats who had solved conflicts through peaceful discussion for thousands of years. But something about the human captain's voice had triggered ancient fear responses he didn't know he still possessed. Accept their request, he decided. We came here to help. Maybe we can still make this situation peaceful. 2 hours later, Ambassador Minji materialized on the Council ship's transport pad. The aliens had expected to see a desperate refugee or perhaps a primitive tribal leader. Instead, they faced a woman in a perfectly fitted military uniform, covered with medals and rank insignia. Minji looked around the alien ship with professional interest. Everything was built for comfort rather than defense. Soft lighting, curved walls, chairs designed for relaxation rather than combat stations. The ship was a luxury yacht compared to human military vessels. "Ambassador Kren," she said in perfect galactic standard, "thank you for accepting our meeting request." Kren noticed that the human kept her hands near her belt, where several devices were attached. Some looked like communication tools, others looked like weapons. "Ambassador Minji, we received your people's distress call. We came to offer evacuation assistance." Minji smiled, but it didn't look friendly. "I reviewed your response message. Your translation computers did a poor job with our broadcast. We weren't asking for evacuation. We were announcing our expansion into galactic space." The alien ambassador felt confused. "But your message described terrible conditions on your world. Natural disasters, dangerous animals, toxic environments." "Yes, that's all true. Earth is a death world by galactic standards. Everything on our planet is designed to kill us. The weather, the geology, the biology, all of it tries to destroy human life every single day." Kren leaned forward sympathetically. "Then surely you want to escape such conditions. The Council has many garden worlds, where your people could live in safety and comfort." Minji's smile became even less friendly. "Ambassador, you're still not understanding. We don't want to escape Earth. We love Earth. Earth made us what we are. Every disaster taught us to be stronger. Every predator taught us to be more dangerous. Every poison taught us to be more resistant. We didn't survive Earth despite its dangers. We survived because we became more dangerous than everything else on the planet." She walked to the window, showing space around Jupiter. "You see our industrial installations throughout this system. You think we built those to hide from Earth? Actually, we built them to practice. Earth taught us how to survive in impossible conditions. Now we're applying those lessons to other worlds." The alien crew exchanged worried glances. Their sensors had been analyzing the human installations for hours. What they found was disturbing. Every human structure was designed like a fortress. Even their farming stations had weapon systems and armored walls. "Ambassador Minji," Kren said carefully, "your message said you were expanding into the galaxy. The Council controls this region of space. We have agreements with all species about territorial boundaries." Minji turned away from the window. Her expression showed something the aliens couldn't identify. Humans called it predatory satisfaction. "The Council made those agreements without consulting us. We were never asked if we wanted to join your federation. You simply decided our expansion should be limited to this one-star system." She activated a device on her belt. A holographic display appeared showing the local galactic region. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue areas showed Council territory. The aliens could see that human expansion was moving directly into Council space. "For 20 years, we've been building colonies on worlds you consider uninhabitable," Minji continued. "Lava planets, ice worlds, high radiation systems, places where your species can't survive. But these death worlds are perfect practice for us." Ambassador Kren studied the display. "Those worlds are inside Council territory. You need permission to colonize them." "From whom?" "We never signed your treaties. We never agreed to your territorial claims. You allocated this space among yourselves while we were still learning to fly between planets. Now we're here, and we're not asking permission to expand." The alien ambassador felt a growing sense of danger. "The Council will not allow unauthorized expansion. We have military forces to protect our territory." Minji laughed, and the sound made every alien on the bridge step backward. It was the laugh of a predator who had just heard a mouse threaten to fight back. "Ambassador, let me show you something interesting," she said, activating another device. The ship's main display showed the space around Jupiter. Slowly, additional contacts began appearing on the screen. Ships that had been invisible to Council sensors suddenly became visible. Dozens of them, all heavily armed, all positioned to attack the diplomatic fleet. "Your sensors can't detect our stealth ships," Minji explained. "We've been studying your technology for decades. We know exactly how your detection systems work. We know where your military bases are, we know how many ships you have, we know what weapons you carry. She paused to let that sink in. We also know that your military forces have never fought a real war. Your species evolved on peaceful worlds. Your weapons are designed for crowd control, not ship-to-ship combat. Your tactics are based on honor and fair fighting. Captain Jiwan's voice came over the communication system. Ambassador Minji, we're detecting Council reinforcements approaching from the outer system. 3 additional ships. Light armament. Thank you, Captain, Minji replied. She turned back to the alien ambassador. It appears your people called for backup. That's unfortunate. Kren realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Ambassador Minji, there must be a peaceful solution to this situation. The Council doesn't want war. Neither do we, Minji agreed. War is expensive and destructive. But we also won't be confined to one star system while you control thousands. The galaxy is large enough for both our civilizations, but not if you insist on controlling our expansion. She walked back to the transport pad. I'm going to give you some free advice, Ambassador. Go back to your council and tell them what you learned here. Tell them that humans are not refugees who need rescue. We are apex predators from a death world, and we're expanding into the galaxy whether you approve or not. Before Kren could respond, Minji activated her transport device and disappeared. The alien ambassador stared at the empty transport pad for several minutes. Around him, his crew worked frantically to analyze the sensor data from their encounter. The results were terrifying. Sir, his tactical officer reported, I count at least 60 human warships in this system. Their weapon signatures are unlike anything in our database, and sir, 3 of our reinforcement ships have gone missing. They were transmitting normally, then their signals just stopped. Ambassador Kren felt his world changing around him. The Council had ruled this region of space for 1,000 years through peaceful cooperation. Every species they had encountered was rational, civilized, and willing to negotiate. But the humans were something different. They came from a world that had tried to kill them every day for millions of years. They had survived by becoming more dangerous than their environment. Now they were bringing that lethality to the stars. Set course for Council space, he ordered. Maximum speed. We need to warn them what's coming. As the surviving Council ships retreated toward home, human sensor stations tracked their every move. In underground bunkers on Earth, Admiral Huan and his staff watched the alien fleet withdraw. They'll be back, Captain Doyen observed. Probably with a larger force. Admiral Huan nodded. Good. We've been preparing for this moment since we first detected their signals. It's time to show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do when someone tries to cage us. The first shots of the Human Council War would be fired within a week, but the outcome had already been decided the moment the aliens mistook humanity's expansion for a cry for help. The radio waves traveled across space for months before reaching the Galactic Council's listening post on Kepler Station. The signal was weak, broken, and came from a star system at the edge of known space. But what made the technicians stop? Their routine work was not the distance, it was the content. This is Earth calling any civilization that can hear us, the voice said in broken galactic standard. We are humans from the 3rd planet of Sol system. Our world is dying. Natural disasters destroy our cities every year. The air burns our lungs. The water tries to kill us. Wild animals hunt us for food. Please help us. Technician Vex played the message 3 times before calling his supervisor. Within hours, the message reached the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Federation. Council Prime Velosh read the report with growing concern. His blue skin turned darker, a sign of worry among his people. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 47 different worlds murmured to each other in dozens of languages. A death world, whispered Ambassador Kren from the peaceful Zeta sector. How terrible that any species should suffer such conditions. General Thex stood up. His people were among the few in the Council with any military experience, though they had not fought a real war in 300 years. We must send help immediately. These humans are clearly in great danger. Velosh nodded. The Council agrees. We will send a rescue fleet to evacuate as many humans as possible. Ambassador Kren, you will lead the diplomatic mission. On Earth, Admiral Huan watched the final preparations in the command center buried deep under the Korean mountains. Banks of screens showed the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. Mars had 30 military bases. The asteroid belt was full of mining stations that doubled as weapons platforms. Even tiny Pluto had a small garrison. Dr. Nari walked up to the Admiral with a tablet in her hands. Sir, we detected the alien response signal an hour ago. They took the bait. Huan smiled coldly. Good. How many ships are they sending? Our computers think it's a small diplomatic fleet, maybe 5 or 6 ships. They're broadcasting messages about rescue and evacuation. Captain Doyen entered the room, his black uniform bearing the insignia of the Deep Strike Squadron. Admiral, my destroyers are ready. We've been preparing for first contact for 20 years. The Admiral looked at the main screen showing Earth from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. It looked peaceful from up there. The aliens would never guess what kind of world it really was. They would never understand what living on this planet had done to humanity. They think we're asking for help, Huan said. They don't understand that our message was a warning. We told them, Earth is a death world. We told them we survive disasters that would kill other species. We told them our animals hunt us. Did they think we were weak because we survived all of that? Dr. Nari pulled up another screen showing human expansion into the solar system. The aliens evolved on garden worlds, sir. Peaceful places with gentle weather and friendly animals. They can't imagine what Earth is really like. They think death world means we're victims. The Admiral walked to the window overlooking the underground city. Thousands of people worked at computers and weapon systems. Children played in parks built inside mountain caves. This was just one of hundreds of similar cities hidden across Earth. 50,000 years ago, this planet tried to freeze us to death, Huan said. We invented fire. It sent floods to drown us. We built boats. It made animals to hunt us. We made better weapons. Every challenge made us stronger. Every disaster taught us something new. Earth didn't make us weak. It made us the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Captain Doyen checked his watch. Sir, the alien fleet will arrive in 6 days. Should I take my squadron to meet them? Not yet. Let them come to us. Let them see what we've built. When they realize their mistake, then we'll show them what Earth's children can do. Far from Earth, the Council rescue fleet traveled through space at maximum speed. Ambassador Kren studied the human transmission for the 100th time. The message spoke of a world where natural disasters happened constantly, where the air itself could be dangerous, where massive creatures killed humans for food. How do they survive on such a terrible planet? He asked his aide. The message says they built underground cities, sir. They must hide from the surface most of the time. Kren felt sad for the humans. His own world had perfect weather every day, the biggest. Animals were small and friendly. Nobody on his planet had seen a natural disaster in living memory. We'll evacuate as many as we can, he decided. The Council worlds have plenty of room for refugees. We can resettle them on garden worlds where they'll be safe and happy. The fleet's sensors detected the Sol system while they were still a day away. What they found confused everyone. Sir, the scanner operator called out. I'm reading massive industrial activity throughout this system. There are cities on multiple worlds, thousands of ships moving between planets. Kren frowned. That can't be right. The distress message said they were dying. I'm also detecting what look like weapons platforms, sir. Very large ones. The ambassador studied the scans. Instead of a few primitive settlements hiding underground, the sensors showed a thriving interplanetary civilization. Every planet and moon had human installations. The asteroid belt was full of mining operations and construction projects. Maybe they're more advanced than their message suggested, Kren said. But if they can build all this, why did they call for help? As the fleet approached Earth, human ships began appearing on their sensors. Not small civilian craft, but large military vessels with heavy armor and weapon systems that the Council computers couldn't identify. Captain Jiwan sat on the bridge of the patrol ship, Indomitable, watching the alien fleet approach Jupiter. Her Ship was one of 50 hiding in the gas giant's radiation shadow. The alien sensors couldn't see through the interference, but human sensors had been tracking them for days. Captain, her tactical officer reported, the alien ships are broadcasting friendship messages on all frequencies. They say they're here to help evacuate human refugees. Jiwan almost laughed. Evacuate refugees. The aliens still thought humans were helpless victims hiding from their own planet. Open a channel, she ordered. Let's introduce ourselves. The message went out in perfect galactic standard, much better than the broken speech in the original distress call. Alien vessels. This is Captain Jiwan of the Human Defense Force. You have entered Sol system without permission. State your business. On the council ship, Ambassador Kren stared at his communications officer. They have a defense force? Sir, we're reading massive energy signatures from their ships. These aren't refugee transports. They're warships. Kren felt the first hint of fear. But their message said they needed help. Captain Jiwan continued her transmission. We know you received our Deathworld advisory broadcast. You should have understood the warning. Earth produces apex predators. We survive because we are stronger than everything that tries to kill us. We are expanding into the galaxy. Your presence here suggests you didn't understand our message. The alien ambassador tried to respond. We came to help evacuate your people from your dangerous world. There was silence for a moment. Then the human captain replied, and her voice carried a tone that made every alien on the bridge step backward, in instinctive fear. Evacuate. Ambassador, you misunderstood our message completely. We don't want to leave our death world. We conquered it. Now we're taking our conquest to the stars. Your council has been watching us for decades. You know where our colonies are. You know how fast we're expanding. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The transmission ended, leaving the council fleet floating in space near Jupiter, finally beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake.